What's up, world? It's your boy, Mike Muse, from the Conversations of Mike Muse Show. I am so excited to be in conversation with my next guest. I am a huge fan of this dynamic duo. I have loved them for so long on the screen. One I'm meeting for the first time, one I've had the pleasure of already being in conversation with, and I get the chance to talk about a project that my dear friend Yvette Bowser was so instrumental in. Yvette, you know I'm calling you after this. Without further ado, I just want to get into it because they came in just talking to each other, and you can feel the love between them. They truly are friends. And I've heard that this group chat is already active and there still are friends from the show. I was talking about Living Single. And it is proof positive because they couldn't stop chatting when they walked in. And they looked amazing. So when you see this on YouTube, they are absolutely beautiful and stunning. I cannot wait to introduce you all the dynamic Kim Coles.
Hello.
How are you, friend?
I am happy and well.
Your energy is exactly how I see you always on TV.
Good. And it's real.
It's positive and it radiates.
And I do the work to keep it there.
Good for you. Good for you. And what's up, Erika Alexander?
What's up, Mike?
How are you feeling?
Living the dream. That's what it looks like, I guess.
Yeah. And as always, you always radiate.
Thank you, love. I appreciate it. And thank you for having us here. We're excited.
Yeah, your constitution for me has always been so strong.
Her constitution.
Wow.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Where do
I
you
love
draw
that.
from for that? It's always strong. And it's not, and then you know what it is too about your constitution? It's not like overpowering. Right? It's just
Strength.
the strength, right, Kim? It's just the strength, right? That you don't have to force it, right? It just kind of makes you want to sit up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you very much. I think I get it from my mother. Anybody who's met her, the great Sammy Jean Alexander, has a great strength in her. And Kim always teases me she has a regalness to her.
very much so.
And I think her children embody that dynamic. And I have to say, because it's worth repeating, that she was an orphan and both my father was. So they very much cultivated their personalities because they depended on the kindness of strangers. And so you had to push yourself forward, but also remain humble, as she would take the H off. Be humble, Erika.
Is that a line from a play? I've always depended upon the kindness of strangers with a cat in a hot tin.
That's
roof?
right. That's right. That's why I put it in there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, that's good.
You got your Broadway Tennessee Williams.
Yeah, Tennessee
There you
Williams.
go. Yeah, and so I think that's what I try to do, because you don't want people to take advantage of you. And if you're a woman, a girl child, and my father raised me to be, you went into rooms with strong men a lot, and especially when we were growing up, the masculinity was very overpowering. So you didn't want to shrink to that. You wanted to show that you had a backbone and a spine so they'd respect you, but you also wanted to be humble so they wouldn't hurt you.
I think that's such an interesting combination of two parents, both orphans, because as orphans, you have to draw within strength from your own. And so then creating you, then pour love into someone, right?
There
To
you
always remind them that they're valued and loved.
Come on. Yeah, and that's an important thing. And I think that they did a really good job with their children having been abandoned and have so much brutality in terms of loss, you know, because life is brutal enough for all of us.
It is.
But, you know, for early on for many children, you learn very much how cruel it can be. And so the fact that if you met my mother, she's so beautiful and she's childlike and she loves to have fun and she
Elegant.
believes in magic, and she also believes that she's a godly person. They were both preachers. And so, yeah, and I'm a little different. I'm very, you know, I like the logical, scientific thing, but I'm very spiritual. I believe in energy, that type of thing. But I also believe that what you give, you get to keep. And so I try not to give people anything that I don't want to get back, because it's coming back whether you like it or not.
That is so true. I am exactly on that energy plane. I grew up religious and still believe in the Trinity, but I am much more spiritual and much more connected to energy. And I think as I've gotten older, too, I've learned to accept that, right? And when I was younger, I used to be afraid of it, right? In my 20s, also too afraid of it. But as I've gotten older, I began to sit in it, right? And actually own it, right? And there's a power in that, right? And there's a power when you connect spiritually. And I've opened myself up to learning about other spiritual dynamics and discourse. Kim, I see you shaking your head. I feel like you're the same as well.
Same here. I think that religion separates us, but spirituality connects us. And when you study spirituality and you study so many different forms of it, you'll see that there's so much that's alike. Like we think that we're different because we belong to this. And it's like, actually, the basic tenets are all the same. I think the foundation being love and truth and kindness and giving and sharing and all that. And so the more I study different kinds of spirituality, the more I see the oneness in the end. And so that's what I go for. So
I just had a conversation.
Instead of the dogma. Who cares about the dogma?
Same.
Yeah.
Kim, I was just having a conversation with my boy George. I don't mean to call him out right now. I'm calling out all my friends. Sorry about that, friends.
Look at that.
George's like, wait a minute, hold up, Mike.
Bring me
and
to
a
the
promise.
conversation.
Yeah. Hold up. But he says, I had a big conversation with him last week, and we were talking about the God within. And he really helped me understand about that concept of a God within and being God. If I am God of God, right? God is
For
within.
some people, that's a very scary conversation to have because they're looking for some white bearded guy in the sky. And if you do, I'm not judging that. That's what you were taught, I think. But I think that when it brings the Creator closer to me, that it's not something that's way out there. And then I can see it in you, and I can see it in you. I can see it in all of us.
Amen.
So no wonder you radiate.
Amen.
I told you I'm doing the work.
What does that work look like for you? If you don't mind sharing.
This kind of study and this kind of being willing to explore and being willing to get quiet. You know, the work that we do and the work that we all do is very noisy. And so to find those quiet moments. Look, I will go for a walk and go talk to a tree. I know that sounds real woo-woo or whatever you call it.
No,
I just,
it doesn't.
The trees
No, it
will
doesn't.
hold your story or hold your grief or hold your. I go and I get some earth. So that's the work, and study, and lots of study, and lots of reading, and lots of being quiet.
Yeah. So you saw me guys looking at my phone. I wasn't texting, but I was getting the 2 books that George recommended I read.
Yes.
So I'm really interested in diving deeper into this work. And the first book is The Seat of the Soul. And then also the second book I'm going to start reading is A Complete Conversation with God.
Complete conversation. Okay.
Yeah, it's to really start to begin to study just that dynamic too as well, to do the work. And like with you, so when I get up in the morning, I have this ritual, right? So I go through my rituals, and then when I leave my house to go to the gym, where I live, I'm near water. And so I walk out the house and I look to the right, and that's when I do my grounding, I do my gratitude, right? I give thanks, right? And for me, that helps set my intention for the day, because once you get going, you are not always in control of your day, no matter how much you schedule and calendar and all that.
But you can control your inner monologue and your direct connection to, what do we say now? The God of your understanding, whatever that is for you. That's a place of a rest, and you can come back. You can come back. Come back.
I recommend a book, Transformation CEO.
Oh,
we have the author right here, Dr. E.J. Johnson, who happens to be a friend, and also he works with Kim, and also Kim's book.
And my beloved. So here, can I tell you
Transformation of CEO?
Transformation CEO. So here's the real secret. The real secret is to be in partnership with someone who is so spiritually aligned and attuned that you just have it in the house with you. So EJ, what do you think of so-and-so? What do they say about so-and-so? So I have it in the house. He's written this book. So what's
Dr.
cool about
E.J.
it is that he's I shouldn't talk for you. Helping entrepreneurs and wantrepreneurs stay connected to their spirituality so that it's infused in your work. Is that how you would say it?
Yeah.
Transformation.
You can have a
CEO.
career and not be untethered to what informs you. And I've been reading it. He gave me a copy, and it's fantastic.
Well, I'm going to get a copy too.
Transformation CEO. Make sure you get one.
So wow.
We're not even talking about
By the way,
podcast.
if you look at culture, that's what's happening. People are untethered to something that's grounded and real.
Yeah.
And they've been doing a lot of bad behavior because of it. And as we unearth that, we're horrified, but we shouldn't be. Because if you push people toward materialism and meism and me Inc. and all these, I'm brand this, really are you?
Yeah.
But who are you? Could you sell that and would I buy it?
Yeah.
That part.
I can't stop smiling, right? Like there's so much I want to get out at one time. I'm like,
Welcome to our world.
And thank you all for listening.
Mike
Tune
Muse.
in to the episode and tune in later.
Okay.
But there's oh my God, that speaks to me so cold, because I've been saying that there's something with our culture right now, and I keep satirically saying that our culture needs a saging.
Ooh.
Right, I've been saying that.
Wow.
I've been saying our culture needs a saging just to come back to center.
Wow. That's real.
Because the way that media and the blogs and when you look at the comment sections, right? The comment section of some of these blogs and Instagrams are so cruel and brutal, to use your word from earlier.
And
It's so
someone
savagery.
Someone is so in their stuff that they take their phone and take their thumbs to write something mean and cruel. And then, I'll go and check their profile and it's private. I can't even answer you back. I can't even, like, what's going on in your world that you want to be. And listen, everybody, you can have an opinion or have feedback that you give someone, but to be so mean and so cruel and hide behind, the interwebs.
It was also big business to have these farms that are farmed out and they're not anybody, but they farmed out a robotic AI to come and make your life miserable for clicks and likes and follows, or because they have an agenda. And that's what, if you look at what Meghan Markle, a lot of the millions of bad behavior, comments that came for her and I guess Prince Harry came from 11 accounts. And one of them was her half-sister. And that's a fact. It was in the documentary. 11 accounts generating thousands of hate mail. And that's, I said, we've sort of now put industry into hate mail because it's how you get clicks. It's how you get to build.
The follows.
And we can't find out who they are.
What do you think is, how do we get past it? Other than the giant saging, what do you think is
there's two things there's two things at play here. Well, I'm going to give you three things. I never insert myself in conversation, but since you asked me
I interview you.
Is one, we're looking in the comment section and who in the meat ink, to what you said earlier, who can say the most vile, comedic thing in the comment section to get the likes that you're talking about. So it's this kind of competition to do it. The second thing is I've always wanted the social media platforms to turn off the comment section. I think we can turn off the comment section. Absolutely. I think we'll begin to see some of that transformation. And I do think the third thing is kind of exactly what we're talking about. We have seen culture move away from religion, and I think religion needs to hold itself accountable for the reasons why people are leaving the church in droves. But when you're leaving the church in droves, I much as I critique the church, I can also too celebrate the goodness of the church. Right? It was a structure, your moral foundation, you're more in community. So the more that we're leaving, but we haven't found any other spiritual dynamic to tether us.
There you go.
Right? And so we're kind of just lost.
Because we have to look to self. And that's the hardest thing, is the mirror.
Of course.
Look at the mirror and see what it tells you. Are you building for yourself or for other? And why are you building? Because people have to tether onto you. You have to actually have the work done. Otherwise, they'll see through. That'll be the end of it. And we haven't done the work because we're too busy hiding behind that big guy in the sky or whatever, and thinking that if we go the most, or I stay prayed up. I said, for real? But what are you doing in your life? What have you done for your community? Would you volunteer? Can we see that?
Yeah, I think that grounds us. And all right, as we are going to talk about the reason why they're here is Reliving Single podcast. We're going to get there, but I think there's something. I think there's something about where we went to with the transformation CEO and what you kind of went to in terms of having like a grounding to it. I think, Erika, I know you are very strong in your political beliefs and activism. I think that even is something to be said about our politicians today, right? Like, you can have a spiritual dynamic and let that guide you and be a North Star, but then there's a danger to it when you start using it for policy and to be instructive with policy, right? And I think we're losing that too as well in the political space, and also too in corporations and the CEO, when you lose your soul and you lose that grounding aspect of it.
And not believing that there's any consequence, and the consequence for some people is, or you'll just go to hell. It's like, well, I don't know if that's going to happen, so I'm just going to do all of this just because I don't understand it.
But we're also getting really cynical. We don't believe that good people exist. We're holding them to a standard we don't even rise to. So then, at any politician that comes in, you can look at their good works, their life of good works, and then say, oh, it's nothing. But what have you done? Nothing. You haven't put yourself out there to be judged. You haven't taken the risks they have. And that's the problem too, is that when you cease to see good and you see good and bad, and that's equal, or you can actually argue that and defend it, then we are lost. That's the problem. If America's culture is sending out anything right now that's the most harmful, it is the fact that we think that as this land of the free and home of the brave, that we haven't done the core work that we needed to. And we haven't done it since the Civil War, and we are dealing with the remnants of all of that.
There's such a danger when you make good and bad equitable. There's such a danger in that when you make good and bad equitable. Exactly what you said.
Yeah, they did it. So what?
Yeah.
Really?
Right.
What happened? We used to do, I don't know about you, talking about culture and making things, the things that make us. We talk about Flip Wilson and all these shows that came in to, teach us comedy. But a lot of them had core morality tales inside of them, like Little House on the Prairie, The Waltons, and all these sitcoms. You would find a way to see through the lead character something that if you came up against it, oh, that's how you do it. That's how you apologize. That's the wages of sin is not death. The wages of sin is apologizing and to your friend that you hurt and your parents telling you why it's important so you can sleep at night. Where are all those shows? They've been captured and kidnapped by a corporate sensibility that says it has that, behind it, but really doesn't. And these, I think, children and adults feel unmoored.
I never thought about that until just now. I promise you I haven't. I always talk about, I love all kinds of music, but when we were growing up, there was such balance, right? What we saw in the household, what we saw in the community, to let us know, like, oh, those lyrics we're hearing is art, right? It's not real. Like, you don't talk like that in the streets, right? Or in the house. But I forget to think about how much these shows actually taught us scenarios, right? And how to handle crisis,
Storytelling.
Right? How to handle
Storytelling
grief.
is core to the human beings.
Because
it's nothing
now,
more important.
Now we're in this space now where everything has to be so bingeable, so you need the most salacious storyline that's all about salacious. Now we're seeing like men do full frontal nudity, right? And I'm not knocking it, right? But it's just we're just getting so far.
Either.
It's actually quite enjoyable.
If Michael B. Jordan would like to stand, I'm gonna shine a light on that.
But
get some binoculars. My God,
I love that.
Maybe turnabout is fair play. I don't know.
No, it is.
That's
in
real.
the end, right,
No,
maybe
it is. But the point I was making though is that we're going so past the point of storytelling for the sake of storytelling that a lot of times the nudity is just for shock value.
Oh, for
right?
sure,
Like
for sure.
there's a time when you can do nudity where it's part of the storytelling, and then you can feel now where it's just for shock value, right? And when we're in this dynamic and era of shock value, I think that is when we lose the morality aspect of it, right? And then we don't understand the body, right? And the sensuality and the sexuality of the body and the human condition, which leads us right to living single. Right?
That's a segue.
Right?
Silly rabbit segues are for kids. I love it. I love it.
Because of the fact of like living single, and audience are here to talk about the podcast Reliving Single, and it's I'll let you guys explain it, but it's my interpretation of it is to take us inside behind the scenes of each episode and key moments that made the show so what it was. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Key moments that made the show so, what did you say? So what it was. And also key moments behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And stories that we've never told or stories that we didn't even know. All of the above.
But you guys were part of that, what we just were talking about.
Yeah.
That storytelling, how to handle crisis, right? And what I loved about that is we got a chance to see co-ed friendships. Like existing.
Yeah.
I think that was so powerful for me as seeing this. We hadn't seen these.
I never heard anybody say it that way. There were co-ed friendships. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the 4 girls who had their friendship.
Yep.
We had the 2 guys who had their friendship.
Yep.
And then we commingle. I never thought about
They
that.
lived upstairs from you guys, right?
And art imitated life in that John and TC were such beautiful big brothers for us. They protected us. Very protective. We, TC, you got to get TC to tell the story of how we would, go out and do a press tour or something, and they are also stars on the show, but they would have to, protect the girls and get the girls. Yes, I'll take a picture with you, sir, but yes, I need to get the girl. Go get baby sister. That's it. Go get baby sister. She's gone off the. And so they were there, as stars themselves, but also as our family, as our protectors, and that was powerful to experience and
we're having conversation about whether black women are seen as too masculine and those types of things, and they never thought 4 black independent loud when I say loud meaning
I know what you
expressive women couldn't have been treated more delicately by those 2 black men.
Every day.
Were not
Good morning,
afraid
baby
of our
sister.
power,
Good
didn't
morning.
think it was too much, were, loved us up, hugged us, laughed more than, they ever got mad. And we need to tell that story. And that's the sort of type of things we'll talk about on
the show.
This type of, thing. Because you can go deep.
Yeah.
And you can go long because it's a
podcast. It's a vodcast.
It's a
It's
vodcast.
vodcast.
But I think there's something about that too. When you feel seen and protected, that has to come out in the art, right? When you guys are on set, right? When you know your love and you're protected, it makes you, I'm assuming, free to take risk with your characters and your positioning.
And we loved on them as well. They hopefully felt protected and loved by us. There was a point early in the show where it was sort of written very Lenny and Squiggy-ish. You know, remember Lenny and Squiggy from
Hello.
the Hello.
Yeah.
Every time they came in the room, it was
Laverne
just
and Shirley.
hijinks, so to speak. And you can do a comedy and be comical without being moving in further in that direction. The step and fetch it kind of, you know,
silly comedy,
like, or
that doesn't have
stereotypical.
Any sort of, core.
And so we were very protective of making sure that their images were still as powerful Black men.
Yeah, but there was just something beautiful. Like, so when I was watching Living Single, I was a kid still living in Lansing, Michigan. And so to see like these beautiful tapestry of characters come to play, it showed the fullness of Blackness, right? Of like the different types of Black women that exist, right? And the different types of Black men that exist, because sometimes you can make things so binary, right? But you guys, it was open up the breadth of that, right?
Yeah.
And then you open up the possibilities of living in a big city, right?
Yeah,
in New York. So you guys were quite the inspiration behind that.
Well, we were proud, and we give all props to Yvette Lee Bowser, who was the creator of the show, who brought a lot of herself to it. Obviously, you're going to see an origin, or you're going to talk about an origin story that begins with here. This woman, Kim Coles, who is powerfully put into the world the intention of bringing a Black creator onto the show. But we have Kim to think about it. And this was at a point in your life that you had just been fired from somewhere else.
I had been fired from In Living Color and maybe went into what they call back in the day holding deals, and was given the opportunity to have a meeting at Warner Brothers, not knowing that Queen Latifah was concurrently, a favorite word of mine, having the same kinds of meetings. Isn't that good? And so that we got a chance to hear what they wanted, infuse some ideas, and then given a list of who. And we both met with everyone, and Yvette Lee Bowser, hands down, the one.
I can talk to you guys all day, but I do want to give a little bit, and I know you guys got to go, attention to that, because in watching that first episode, one audience, you're going to love this show. If you couldn't tell already by this conversation, this is exactly what their podcast is like, and you two play off each other so well. So cheers to you guys for that.
Thank you. I think we were born and before we got to this earth and said we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there was a moment in that first episode that I just want to highlight, I think was so powerful as we wrap, is the moment when Warner Brothers and Fox said that the script isn't it. The first original script isn't it. And you guys made the decision, you and Queen Latifah, to extend your agreement to give Yvette more time. Yeah. I thought that was so powerful. The moment of unity, standing up for each other, willing to take a hit. That was so beautiful.
I don't think about that a lot. And it was, Erika, who is so generous in bringing that to light again. Like, no, take a moment and revel in or sit in what a big deal that is. It was just a moment that happened. We did it. 30 years have passed. And so I thank you for being generous enough to bring it up and to insist that I slow down and pull back and go, what does this mean? That Dana, Latifah, and we had the privilege to be able to go, no, we really like her, and what if we stay the course and insist that we extend our deal so that she could have the time, because we believed strongly that she was the one. And I hadn't really sat in that and reveled in that. You just move on. And so
that was so powerful for me, and that just stood out.
We have a lot to thank Kim Coles for.
Yeah. Audience, just tune in every Wednesday, Reliving Single. And Erika, you got to come back. We ran out of time. I completely got lost with time with you guys.
It's like
the conversation was so good.
Stuff, man.
Right?
Thank you, Mike Muse.
No, I love y'all so much.
Our Muse.
No, y'all are mine. I'm so excited. Audience, just get into the podcast, and they're going to come back on the show, but you would not be disappointed. I have thoroughly enjoyed watching this episode. And so next time, again, Reliving Single, you can find it where all podcasts and on YouTube.
Yes.
Are available.
Starting May 7th.
May 7th.
Yes.
Okay. Until next time, folks. Peace.